Hello, I am now reading chapter 2. The book is Life in Spirit, and it is Harry Edwards who is writing. This was published in 1976, and it is from Harry Edwards' Spiritual Healing Sanctuary, which is in Burroughs-Lea in Surrey. And I came across it, I read it about 10 years ago, and I came across it whilst tidying up. And he is known throughout the world as a foremost spiritual healer, and he's an author of many books. And this is a story about John and Mary, any John, any Mary, brother, sister, husband and wife, sweethearts and friends. The story of you and me, but with this difference. John and Mary have died and have entered into their new life in spirit. Chapter 2. The medium between the physical and the spiritual dimensions. With communication between the two dimensions, there needs to be a medium to provide the means by which communication travels, and which is an integral part of the cosmos. In studying this medium, it is necessary to commence with elementary explanations in order that the reader may follow the more advanced conclusions. It is true to say that everything which exists in the universe is energy in a characterized form. It is unorganized energy which provides the medium between the physical and spiritual dimensions. It is this simple form of energy which permits the light of a star to be seen on the earth, having taken 1,000 or more light years to reach us. And thus, what we see in the starry sky tonight is an experience of long, long ago. Indeed, it could be that the star itself from which we see its light at present may not now even exist. There needs to be a medium by which the warmth of the sun reaches us. We could not feel the sun's heat unless there was a form of energy along with the heat force that could travel the 90-odd million miles the sun is apparently different from the earth. Heat is an energy too. We can proceed from the truth that everything which exists is energy. Every material thing is characterized energy composed of atoms. The paper these words are printed on is a mass of ordered, organized atoms. The ink which forms the letters is a different amalgamation of atoms, constituting the ink. Every atom is ordered energy. The whole of the universe is a state of disciplined energy, conforming to the laws which govern its purpose. Energy is the basic material of all physical creation, and for the reason that there is the faculty of communication between the spirit and physical dimension, it is logical to assume that energy is common to spirit life too. This implies that energy is the clay and stone of spirit life as surely as it is of ours. Scientists are able to assemble molecules in order to perform specific purposes. Elemental molecule-formed substances adopt different properties when associated with another elemental energy to form a compound, thus creating a third substance. We use molecules of one order to effect a change in the structure and state of other materials. Uncharacterized energy enters into ordered form with the atom. Every atom has precise order, function and purpose. The simplest atom is that of hydrogen. It has a central nucleus and a single electron which rotates around it at an amazing speed. If a hydrogen atom could be enlarged to the size of St. Paul's Cathedral, the nucleus suspended in the center of it would be no larger than a football, and a single electron which races around the circumference would be no larger than a golf ball. Every element has its determined number of electrons which rotate around the nucleus, varying in number from 1 to hundreds. One can picture an atom as a tiny solar system with electrons, the planets, revolving around a nucleus, the sun, in determined orbits. Formation of molecules. Two or more different elemental atoms, when placed together, form a molecule, in turn forming a compound. The simplest example is the amalgamation of two hydrogen atoms with one oxygen atom to form water, chemically expressed as H2O. Science is based upon the associations of atoms with other atoms, forming composite molecules and studying their behavior under varying conditions. It was from this study that modern medical and other sciences and the atom bomb was born. These observations are of special importance for those who wish to understand the science of the gift of healing, for they form the foundation upon which spirit's healing science rests, in the same way as they do for the study of physical science. Just as man is able to manipulate energies to perform a designed objective, so we must equally allow for wiser spirit minds to be able to bring about chemical changes in patients, because they have the knowledge of the manipulation of energies. This is the science which enables the spirit people to establish communication with each other, as well as communication with sensitive minds on Earth. Let me take another typical case to illustrate this point of view. A patient suffers from chronic arthritis. His joints have lost their freedom. They cannot move for the reason that chemicals have been deposited in the joints from the bloodstream, and these have cemented up the joints so that movement can only take place with great pain and difficulty. In some cases, the joints cannot move at all. This presents a totally incurable condition to the wisest medical mind. It is stating the obvious that to remove the arthritic adhesions, a change must be included within them to alter their state, to enable the joint to become free. This means the atoms within the molecules of the calcium carbonate, CaCO3, one atom of calcium, one of carbon, and 3 of oxygen, are freed from one another and return to simple, unconnected atoms, or the condition is so changed that it can be passed away, say, in the bloodstream, or by other means to be excreted from the body. There is no other way to accomplish this than by directing to it either a disruptive force or an ordered grouping of molecules which can change the substance into another form, which can be disassociated from the joint and removed. It is said that if you apply the force of heat to calcium carbonate, this is one means by which its structure and formation can be changed, but the heat required would be of too great an intensity to apply it physically to an arthritic joint. The fact is that when spirit healing is applied to the condition, full freedom can return to the joint within a matter of seconds without causing any pain whatsoever. It is factual that when this takes place, only the offending substance is removed, without ill affecting in any way membranes or surrounding tissues, blood vessels or nerves connected with the joint. Invariably, the sufferer is freed from pain and has no further stress. The author has seen this state of change take place many times, often in large public meetings before thousands of observers, when patients have been able to move their limbs freely, more so than they had been able to do for many years. It is also said that this does not happen with every sufferer from arthritis. Removal of the trouble can be a progressive process, which needs time in order to remove the obstruction and restore function to the joint and surrounding tissues. It can, however, be said that it would be an exception for a sufferer from arthritis not to feel benefit to an appreciable extent. These are facts which can have to be accounted for. To produce the chemical change in the joints, it is a planned process, and the healer is seeking it through his ability to attune to the spirit healing intelligences, who have been able to organize the correct nature, order, quantity and numbers of atomic characteristics, forming a molecule which, when brought into close association with calcium carbonate, is able to effect a chemical change in its state. There may be more than one way in which the spirit intelligences are able to accomplish the feat of dispersing substance. If a force is to be used to make a change, then it may well be that they can apply a heat of strength and intensity which is not clinical to produce a state of change. It is a common experience in spirit healing for both the healer and the patient to be conscious of a very strong measure of heat emanating from the healer's hand into the patient's body. This heat is sufficiently strong for both healer and patient to be aware of its intensity, and usually occurs when the healer's hand is in proximity to where the patient's trouble lies. If the healer moves his hand 6 inches away, the experience of heat disappears, only to return the very moment the hand moves back to its previous place. The significance of this is that when a thermometer is placed between the healer's hand and the patient, there is no recorded difference in the thermometer reading. This can be demonstrated with the majority of healers and those of their patients suffering from physical stresses. Thus, the heat is not a clinical heat, and it may be of such a character and nature that, when it is applied to an arthritic joint, a change in the substance takes place. It is not the end of the story. Perhaps it would be hard to find a better instance to illustrate the interassociation of the two dimensions, spirit and physical. The more one tries to give a simple explanation, the more it travels wider and wider in its associations. And it is with this one when I suggest that the formation of the corrective atomic properties are brought together to bring about a state of change in the calcium carbonate, and that this commences in the spirit realm, using spirit energies which are the counterpart of our physical ones. Thus it is necessary to introduce the process of absent healing, but perhaps a better term would be distant healing. Through this, a person will seek healing by means of a letter or a telephone call to a healer to cure him or other persons of, say, arthritis. One patient may be in the United Kingdom, Germany, the USA, or even in Australia or New Zealand. Again, I call in facts. It is established in hundreds and thousands of cases that patients have been freed from the shackles of arthritis by absent healing, some completely, some partially, with a smaller percentage not responding at all. In absent or distant healing, the healer may never see the patient, his only contact by means of letter or a telephone call. Yet it is beyond all dispute that, whether it be a short or longer time, the sufferer will, in all probability, be relieved of his trouble. This establishes the truth that the formation of the correcting molecules can take place in the spirit dimensions, and supports the theory that the healers in spirit, through their greater knowledge of chemistry and the laws governing matter, know of ways in which to form corrective molecular structures. This energy is then directed either to the patient direct, or in the case of distant healing or in contact healing, to the healer associated with the patient. It is reasonable to assume that the corrective molecules need to be transformed from their spirit structure into their physical counterpart. With absent healing, this can be simply understood through the direct association of the patient's spirit self with his physical self, and therefore the transformation will take place in that in-between state between his physical and spiritual self, and as soon as this takes place, this healing energy is directed to the site of ill condition, where it performs its function to bring the desired relief to the patient. In contact healing, the spirit form a molecule structure reaches the healer through his attunement with the source of healing, and through the healer's undergoing a transformation into physical counterpart, and is this then directed to the particular joint area of the body where help is needed. Whether this theory is accepted or not, the critic cannot deny the fact that the healing of arthritis is a common occurrence with spirit healing. He cannot deny that a chemical change must take place to remove the cementing substance which prevents movement of the joint. These are the facts, and if the critic has elementary scientific knowledge, he cannot help but agree that no change in the state of matter can take place unless it is in response to an applied atomic or energy force. Every healing must take place within the laws which govern us, whether they be physical or of spirit. The critic cannot avoid the conclusion that it must need some allied, characterized, chemically composed material, whether in solid, liquid, or gaseous form, which must erase and disperse the offending structures. There is no other way in which we can conceive the removal of diseased matter. One cannot rule out the very common belief, which is belief only, that the healing of an arthritic joint is a direct dispensation from God, who has heard the prayers of the patient. His relatives or the priest has overridden his laws of creation under the omnipotent powers he possesses to create a situation which is contrary to the science arising from his law. If there is any reason in the explanation offered, it confirms the conclusion that there must be communication between the two dimensions of life. These dimensions relate to communication by thought as well as the application of the science of manipulation of energies, which are common to both dimensions, and that the common substance of unorganized energy, often referred to as etheric energy, provides the state of being as the medium between the two dimensions. With every ill condition there is a troubled state of chemical imbalance, for which there is a definite cause, and which needs a definite corrective energy structure to bring about the planned change. We cannot escape from responding to the law of cause and effect. Whenever there is a cause for change, then the symptoms or effect follow. A healing has been effected when the cause has been removed, enabling mastery to be established over the symptoms. In most cases of physical disease, a chemical change needs to be induced at the site of the trouble, and the medical treatments have this purpose in view. We can accept to understand life in spirit the more we appreciate the detail and the purpose of the gifts of the spirit. We are now able to approach a definite conclusion connecting the two dimensions, bearing in mind that every healing is a planned effort, having direction and purpose, that every state of change in the universe is law-governed, and every planned, achieved state of change results from intelligently applied, law-governed forces and energies to the subject. The conclusion is therefore this: the spirit intelligence or intelligences are not only able to obtain an accurate diagnosis of the patient's conditions, but are able to 1. Analyze the chemical substances causing the ill condition down to their molecular components, and 2. to direct to that particular ill condition a spirit-generated molecular force designed to bring about the desired chemical change in the harmful molecular structure causing the patient's ill health, and so effect a change for the better. So that was chapter 2, and it is the book written by Harry Edwards, published in 1976, here very close to where I live, and today is a beautiful day. It's my daughter's birthday, so may the force be with her. Bye-bye. Happy birthday, my darling.